All right, everybody. Welcome to the Watch Well podcast. My name is Parker, and this is my co-host, Nick. We are back with another episode. It's been a while. How's it going, Nick?
Doing well. Had a lot going on. Moved
Yeah.
in a new little studio-ish space. Not really a studio yet, but working on getting stuff ready in a new house.
Awesome. What's the worst and best part of moving?
Oh, man. I don't know if there's a best part. Not yet, anyway.
That bad, huh?
Mm.
That bad.
Yeah, so when we came to see the house, there was one particular room where everything was like there was a bunch of stuff packed in. And so when we got here and we're moving stuff in a little bit before that, really, but all that stuff was out. So it revealed massive urine stains on the carpet. So, at first that was a really big deal, getting that out and using kills and sealing everything, and then getting new carpet in, all that stuff has been kind of a hassle. So
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
yeah. House,
absolutely awful.
overall, everything's good. Got more space, got a better layout for, family and things like that. So overall, it's good. It's just a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we're coming to Indiana soon, so we'll have to stop by and see it for sure. So what's been going on? I mean, we've been gone for 5 weeks. The majority of that was because Nick was moving. I think it's been 5 weeks. Has it been 5 weeks?
I don't know how long it's been.
Something
not,
like
not
that.
all of that. It's not a 5-week move by any means. It's, I would say schedules have been a hindrance.
Well,
setting this room up and stuff like that. Soccer games, and at least for us, soccer games, late nights, things like that.
Yeah. So if you do listen on a regular basis, we want to say thank you. We really appreciate the support. Continue to share the Watch Well podcast if you can think about it, or if it's on your mind. Obviously, the more people that listen, the more people that join the Patreon, the more that we have resource-wise to continue to share, stories through the lens of truth, and ultimately teach people about the Bible, teach people about the gospel and Jesus, and give value the best we can in those ways. Nick, any other thoughts?
No, I know what we have coming up here in a second. It's going to be kind of a new thing for us. It's going to be, we're still watching something. We're still responding to something, scripted in a way, but a YouTube video. And you sent it to me saying, hey, I think we should talk about this, which I guess you've been doing with a lot of things. And this is the only one I've seen. I need to go back and look through my text messages and see what you've been sending me. But so, yeah, I'll leave it to you to introduce it since it was originally your idea. But so for those listening, it's going to be a little bit different. We're not talking about a movie or reviewing a movie. We're going to talk about a YouTube video.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Steven Crowder. I found this obviously on his show, on his YouTube channel. I'm actually really shocked that, when I was trying to pull this up, I thought that maybe they took it down because he gets hammered by YouTube all the time, and YouTube sucks. So just with throttling good content that they don't agree with, and yada yada yada, you guys know the whole thing. So I did end up finding it, and we are going to play a few seconds of it. We're not going to play the whole thing. So
attempt.
Yeah, attempt is the key word here. So
this is the Drag to Kids to Pride event. Organizers promoted it as a family-friendly drag show.
It's glitter, it's fun, and it's a show. It's all for a great cause. It's a G-rated drag show.
Coming out of the closet means when you tell everybody that you're gay. It's something that gay people have to do.
Desmond, you're one of the youngest and first drag queen/kids.
It's come to a world where drag kids actually exist.
And people do ketamine on a couch.
And they all go marching in the big parade.
Explicit comment about kids being in there.
What's that?
I was talking to the
All right. Well, if you guys want to watch any more of that, you can check it out on Steven Crowder's page, Louder with Crowder on YouTube. Nick, initial thoughts.
You're gonna put me on the spot like that, and it's your thing. Yeah,
Well, I mean, I
so
can
this
talk
is-
about my thoughts, but
No,
but
you're good. You're good.
you
you're
didn't
good. This is
listen.
gonna-
You didn't listen to any of the videos I sent you. So
right. So this is gonna be not just fairly, but completely unrehearsed. There's not really
absolutely.
any preparation whatsoever on my part. So
And real quick,
I think
sorry,
I'm
Nick, I'm going to cut you off after I just gave
Go
you the
for it.
floor, but I do apologize. Some of that, if you're watching on YouTube, Rumble, wherever we post this, I forgot to do the disclaimer. So I do apologize. All right, back to you, Nick.
what was the disclaimer?
Just for some of the content in the YouTube video.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't really hear it all that well, so I remember some stuff in there. So I'll start with just kind of an experience, I guess. So we went to this past Saturday. We had a soccer game to go to. I'm kind of stumbling over my words, so I apologize for that. But we had a soccer game to go to, and it was a mid-level soccer team in Indianapolis. You can probably Google that, and you'll find, or a semi-pro. It's a professional team, but it's like minor leagues for soccer, MLS, and things like that. You can Google that, and you'll probably find the Indianapolis team that I'm talking about. But so we show up at the stadium. The reason we went is because we were there because our high school team was playing on that field. You know, it was a neutral field game, and our high school team was playing on that field. And so we go to the high school game, and there's a big gap. We find something to do between the games, and we come back for the actual game, like the pro game. And we get there, we get in, not without ever having known that the promotion for Saturday night, it was Pride Night. So, like, you know, everywhere you look, there was a special section. You know, rainbow flags were being waved where every time there was a goal scored and things like that. We actually didn't stay for the game, not solely because of that. There were some other factors. It was late and things like that. We didn't stay for the whole game, but at halftime, if we would have stayed, we would have seen what they were calling a pride parade around the track that surrounds the soccer field. Mm-hmm. So like we kind of have kids everywhere, young kids everywhere, kids with, you know, the rainbow flags and all of that stuff in support, probably because, you know, their parents or family members identify either homosexual or transgender or something. And so they were there and supporting it and everything, and being encouraged to support it. But the key thing that I want to point out is that this was a school event, right? This was our high school team was playing on the field, and our high school, the soccer team had to sell a certain number of seats to parents and people from our community to come attend this game. And they had a quota of tickets to sell. And then we arrive to find that it's Pride Night at the game. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like you hear about all of that, some more intentional than that. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to say that our school knew it was Pride Night because they probably didn't. But, you know, there's so much in the news right now about the connection between students, kids in school, and then the video we just watched, kids in general, involvement in promoting the LGBTQ agenda, if you will. I mean, that's kind of a buzzword phrase that could probably be defined a little better, but you know, I think generally people know what we're talking about when we say that. But and so it's, you know, the schools promoting it, and you know, there's been drag shows at schools and things like that. So those are all the things that pop into my mind at first that I think this video is trying to bring to light, and in a way make fun of a little bit too. I think that's fair to say. But so yeah, those are kind of the initial things that jump in my mind. What do you think?
So we'll trade stories here a little bit. I've got a buddy who played football. I think you've met my buddy Kevin. Have you met my buddy Kevin? I think you have.
Yeah.
I think we went to a concert in Indiana at Lucas Oil Stadium, and
Yeah,
he stayed over.
Stayed in my house. 2 houses ago.
2 houses ago. Let's see. He's real big into soccer. Real big World Cup guy. Absolutely loves it. It's probably his favorite like sporting event is not individual soccer, but the World Cup. Because he's a big Ohio State football fan and played football growing up, but his big thing is the World Cup, and he absolutely loves it. And so he's trying to get me into soccer because I hate soccer. And he wants a buddy of his to watch soccer. Well, he invited me to go down to Cincinnati and watch the Cincinnati or Columbus. I can't remember where we were, to be honest with you, but it was one of the Ohio soccer teams. And he invited me down. He paid for the tickets. I think I only paid half for my ticket or something like that. And he drove, and it was like a Wednesday night or something. And he got off work. We left early, and we got back at like 1 o'clock in the morning. But we went there. And it was actually really cool because I had never been to a sporting event where that many different nationalities and diversity in one element. You know, I'm used to going to baseball games and there's diversity in baseball, but different than that of, an American soccer team playing a whole other country because they're prepping for the World Cup. So it was really cool to see all the different types of people and experience that, something different. And I think that what's funny about the whole thing is Kevin didn't know that it was Pride Week or month or whatever it is. It seems to be getting longer.
So was
each
this
year.
was this in June or was it just a promotion? So like the game I went to, it was just a promotion.
This
night.
was in
like,
June.
Sometimes they have bobblehead night.
Yep. No,
okay.
This was in June. This was like I'm pretty sure. If I'm mistaken and someone wants to rip me in the comments, that's fine. I think that it led to interesting optics because both Kevin and I are married to obviously different women, our wives, but they were absent for this game. So we walked into the stadium and it was absolutely immaculate. I mean, this soccer stadium was beautiful and professional. It was one of the Ohio club teams, but United States was playing. I'm going to forget what team they were playing. We sit down, and all of a sudden, we see these rainbow flags and this whole thing about marketing pride, celebrate pride. And Kevin and I look at each other. We're two dudes sitting next to each other, drinking beer, and we both have wedding bands on in the middle of this pride thing. And it looks really funny, right? Mm-hmm. So, we were kind of joking about that and thought it was funny, but a bigger conversation broke out at the end of the game, and I guess that's kind of the segue that I wanted to lead off into this is before we kind of get into the video and run out of time. As a Christian athlete, and I think we've seen this, I think recently players from the Tampa Bay Rays kind of started to stand for their faith and not want to wear a pride patch on their uniform or participate in a game. Where do you, in your opinion, Nick, where does that stop and start? And is it different for different people? And how does that look? Because there's a lot of variability that goes into that, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think there's a lot of variables. I would applaud the people from the Tampa Bay Rays that would, refuse and I don't know like how strong refuse is. I don't know conversations that happen within that organization and things like that to get to that point where they felt like, you know what, I'm just not going to wear this. I don't know like how receptive the organization was. Were they actually, were they accept? I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know any of that stuff. But.
And when you say all of that, you mean in terms of heated conversations of wear this or you'll lose your job on the team, or okay, no big deal.
Right. Yeah.
That spectrum.
Saying, like,
okay.
Was it? Were they risking anything? Regardless, I applaud it. I'm saying like regardless, it's good that they would stand for their faith. my question is, what were they standing against any real opposition? I guess
Fair.
in what they were doing, because clearly, secular sports, right? Sports organizations are by nature secular. I mean, neutrality is a myth. We know that. We've talked about that a lot of times in everything, but at least in the way that they present themselves, they try to maintain, neutrality, or not. Actually, they don't really, but
Right.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, it's a secular organization. So some organizations will really push back against you when you try to stand for your faith and you try to say, no, I'm just not going to wear that patch, or I'm not going to, put on that uniform if this is on it. And they'll really push back. Others might just be like, you know what, that's your call. You're free to do that, and just let you do it. So I don't know, the situation with the Tampa Bay Rays
being a part of a team. My thoughts directly go to controversies with players. So it's gonna, like, if there's no conflict, or I guess boiling it down to sacrifice, because you're saying sacrificial, or I guess sacrificing nothing versus sacrificing something. I guess that's kind of what you're talking about. If you boil it down to sacrifice, whether or not there is a standing up to opposition in your faith between the player who doesn't want to support something and the organization, there's still going to be conflict and sacrifice, maybe in relationships from a peer-to-peer level, and teammate chemistry, team chemistry, and maybe not, that affects play on and off the field.
For sure. I mean, yeah, definitely. There can be some of that. But in terms of the line, I think a lot of it has to be with, can you... So let's jump into the two soccer games that we went to. We both went to soccer games, and ironically found out after we were there, 2 separate soccer games, 2 separate nights of the year, and yet we both had the same experience where we arrived and it's Pride Night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, players are going to have patches on their jerseys. Promotion staff that work for the team, like, not players, but just team staff, are going to be expected to wear certain things and sell certain things at the merchandise booths.
Say certain things.
Yeah. And so provide, I'm sure everybody gets something when they walk in the door. Do I have to be the person passing out, if I work there, passing out the pride flags, being cheerful, saying that, giving it to people? So, I mean, there's a lot of different, even beyond just the play on the field, there's a lot of different people in the organization impacted that might have to make a decision. But I guess the principle and the general question that I guess everyone that we would have to answer is, so using the example of the patch on the jersey, can I wear the patch because I feel like I have to, yet still not be in support of what it stands for?
I would answer no.
No. And why would you answer that?
I would answer no because... Wait, repeat that again for me one more time.
So, say I'm a player.
Can I wear the patch and still not be in support of it?
And still not be in support of it.
So the reason why I would say no to that, Nick, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Like we said, this is a little unscripted, so we may be learning here a little bit. I'm going to say no, because if everyone thinks that way, the indoctrination is allowed to happen. And then on a sensitivity level to a sin, it starts to degrade. It starts to degrade, I guess, the standard of what a sin is and what a sin isn't. And if that is a particular sin, and the Bible is very clear that homosexuality is a sin, and then we get into identity crises and thinking that you're the other gender, and you're in opposition to you're beautifully and wonderfully made by Christ, as He made you, and ignoring from a sense of, you brought up neutrality, from a sense of, God creates science and there's biology involved, and we're ignoring all of that. Can you wear the patch as a Christian and not support it? I would say if everyone did that, all of that would be allowed to happen.
So just so I understand, what you're saying is you think that it should be every Christian's conviction that if it came down to it, let's say there was a decision, don't play or wear the patch. You think it should be every Christian's conviction that they not play?
I think I have to say yes.
Okay.
And like I said, the reason is because you're choosing so baseball, sports, your job should all come second to the truth. And if you're going to allow sin to persevere and win, and I'm talking in mass generalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking in terms of like what practically happens, because this only works if my thought only works if everyone is in.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say if more people stood up, if every Christian said no, I'm not going to play, then it would squash it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There'd be no ground, because not only would it be the players, it would be the guy handing out pride flags that says, I believe in Jesus and I'm going to church on Sunday and I love Jesus the way that I'm supposed to, but I'm going to hand out this pride flag at the soccer game, even though I don't really believe it. I claim Jesus. I'm just going to do it because it's my job. Is that the type of belief that we want? Is that the type of belief that we're called to? Then you're going to have the fans say, you know what? We're not going to any more soccer games. We're just not going to pay money to organizations that, perpetuate sin.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually,
what's left?
See, that's where my argument falls apart, because that means I struggle with that right now. I think you and I have had those conversations where, do we purchase Netflix? Do we get Amazon Prime? Do we get, can we use YouTube, even though we're supporting individual content creators, but YouTube gets all the ad money if everybody watches it, how do you draw that line? So that's definitely an internal battle with me, but I think that, yeah, you kind of stumped me there, which, I kind of knew. It's just,
yeah,
it's just hard for me to say that I'm stumped there. So then let's just completely do the opposite and leave it up to the individual Christian to make their own decision. I don't know if that makes sense either.
So let's talk about it in different terms. Okay, so let's say same scenario again. So let's say I'm the baseball player or the soccer player, and it's Pride Night, and I have a patch on my uniform, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna let the patch be there. So what are we saying then about that person? Let's say at a press conference the week earlier, I was praising the Lord, thanking Jesus, talking about relationship with Jesus and all of that. And then this week I'm wearing the patch on my jersey, and I'm not doing it out of support. I just think, these are the people that my paycheck comes from, and I don't make the jerseys, right? I'm just going to wear the uniform that I'm given, whether, what's ever on there. But so are we saying, I know what I think to this question, and if you give a different answer, I'll jump in and give what I think. But are we saying, so two options, and there's probably a lot of options in between these two, but are we saying, you know what, you're not a Christian? Or are we saying, hey, Christian, you're being inconsistent with your beliefs, please turn away from that and actually live out your faith?
I would say that one.
Yeah. And that's what I thought too. I just wanted to clarify, because a lot of times when we talk about...
So let me give a little caveat. I would err on the side of option B, but I would be open to the fact that we can't actually see people's hearts, only God can. And biblically, and you can help me where this is at, but like depart from us because we found out that they were never of us. I know I'm butchering that, but
Yeah.
that definitely comes to mind. So 90% B with a 10% err on A. Because we can't see their hearts is what I would.
Right, but
that's how I would
true
answer
of anybody, right?
Absolutely.
That's true of
yeah.
just about,
That's
so
not
like,
even just not isolated to homosexuality or transgenderism. That's any sin, any person that has an unrepentant heart. There's that dynamic, I would say.
Right. So yeah, that's in Matthew. Jesus says, if your brother sins against you, go talk to him. And then he lays out this process: take your church with you. If not, then bring it before the church. And if it still doesn't help, then you treat them as an unbeliever.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they are an unbeliever, right?
It's it's a defense mechanism.
Right. It means that
Yeah.
their lifestyle is reflective of somebody who has not been born again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So because of that, we're going to treat them like somebody that is not born again. And then to extend that, how do we treat people who aren't born again? Well, Jesus says we love our neighbors as ourselves. So we're going to continue to love that person. We're going to continue to care for that person. And most importantly, we're going to continue to proclaim the gospel to that person, hoping that they repent and return to the gospel, whether it's just continuing on in faith. It's part of their growth process in faith, or whether it's actually them having faith for the first time, whichever option it is, that's what we're hoping for. Right.
Yeah.
We're preaching the gospel to that person.
Yeah. And I think that it's really, really important, vitally important for Christians to always remember that the non-believer is still made in the image of God, and the non-believer is not the enemy.
Right. Battles are not against flesh and blood.
Those are huge, huge points to remember. And
sure.
and when you have that rolling around in your head all the time, the guy that flips you off because of road rage on I-75, or the guy that sorry, that's in Ohio, not Indiana. You have different roads, but the person who I think for me it's a little strange to see a transgender person, a man dressed in women's clothing in public, is strange to me. And according to the Bible, I think that it makes sense that it's strange because it's in opposition to the truth.
Right.
Where men are men, women are women, and you can't magically change your gender. You just can't. No differently than you can't change your species or your race. So I think that when you're encountered with those situations and those people, remembering that God made that person, they're beautifully and wonderfully made, and that they aren't the enemy. They may be they're just in Romans chapter 3, I believe it says that every man knows the existence of God. He just suppresses it.
Yeah, but you're
right. Is that Romans 1?
Yep.
Okay. So remembering that, you can appeal to that. You know the God I'm talking about. You just don't want to admit that you do. Yeah. And I think that changes. There's a change in perspective there. There's a deeper ability to love that person through their sin in order to get them on the path to opening the door towards Jesus, the God that they already know exists, than just, oh, they're transgender, or oh, they're whatever.
Right. Yeah, we don't have we're kind of getting close to our time limit here for this one, but
we might do a part 2.
Yeah, we might do a part 2. So the Crowder video that we watch has, its primary purpose, I think, is about the movement to bring kids into this, right? To bring kids as active participants in drag shows as kind of promotion, and people, and you can call it indoctrination. I mean, I'm sure that fits. So that's kind of what I got from the video, is that it's coming at it from that perspective, showing this movement as trying to bring kids in. And obviously that's for the purpose of, kids who are accepting now grow up and they're going to be accepting of that lifestyle later, and they've learned to accept it and things like that. So coming at it from that perspective, that's a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah,
Kids being brought into that.
There's even more responsibility as parents to shelter your kids from evil like that.
Right.
It's child abuse.
For sure. Yeah. So what do you think of the I mean, I know what you think, but the event, for example, do you see that as something common that's happening frequently in the United States?
Well, I definitely think I definitely think the left is louder than the right.
For sure.
I definitely think that. So that doesn't always equal like a causation correlation kind of thing. Just
Right.
because they're louder doesn't mean that it's more prevalent, but I do believe it is becoming more prevalent.
Oh yeah, I think it could very well be becoming more prevalent.
It's definitely
especially-
mainstream.
Especially in certain school districts. Not every school district, I don't
No.
think, but
There's
certain
still
school districts is definitely like that.
there's
but-
still good ones out there. Shout out to Wapakoneta.
Do you know somebody from
I know a few.
Yeah.
They're still good eggs down there, from what I hear. No, but I definitely think that the burden is on the parents, and I think that what we've seen in the news, when I say news, I mean alternative news, because mainstream media is obviously bought and paid for. But I think that what we've seen in alternative news, parents standing up, with the whole thing with COVID and the sexual allegations recently in multiple different school districts, with the transgender thing and men, adult boys, I guess I don't know if you can say adult, but developing young men in the women's locker rooms and bathrooms, and saying that they're women, and it's just weird, how that's becoming. You're just, like I said before, we're becoming desensitized to sin, and when you're desensitized and you hear it all the time, you just become, and then it becomes, oh, that's a mistake. I heard that. How are we doing on time? Sorry, if we need to do a part 2, we can.
We'll need to do a part 2, but you can keep going.
Okay, so just stop me and we can close up in the middle of it.
Okay.
When we get there, but I think I heard it somewhere. I can't remember where, but it was if your wife and kids are, if your wife and daughter is in a bathroom and a man walks into that bathroom, but the man is transgender, and your wife and daughter feel threatened, and right now the media is saying that your wife and daughter are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's how backwards it is. That just seems weird.
Yeah.
That's the logical conclusion. That's just odd to me.
The underlying assumption is first, no, this is okay. Therefore, what you're feeling is not, or
Correct.
what you're thinking is not, or what you've always known is not.
And I think that, that I don't know. Everything anymore seems to be a theological debacle. And even in that moment of, this is right because this man who believes he's a woman is living his truth, is in the bathroom with a biological mother and a biological daughter, and they're the ones that's wrong. How they're feeling is based, if they're believers, or even if they're not believers, how they're feeling is biblically based, because the truth is written on our hearts.
Yeah. According to natural law, for sure.
Right. So what that is actually saying is God's wrong.
Yeah.
Because that has to come from somewhere. That irk or that ugly, gross feeling of I'm not safe, or this there's a standard being breached here.
Yep.
That's essentially saying that the author of creation was incorrect in making them feel that way. All right, guys. Well, that is going to be it for this episode. We're going to do a part 2. So, check us out. Upcoming, we're going to finish the conversation on kids, the transgender video that we showed. And we're really looking forward to being back. So thanks for hanging in there. Sorry for the long break. Nick's doing great, moved in, and we will see you guys next week.